Good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 3. This week, we're going to get away from the more technical and boring subjects and into some actual writing and some techniques that I think that hopefully you'll enjoy. And this week is going to be a little different because everything is going to be linked together. So the activity that you're doing in lesson 7, you're going to then also work on to improve in lesson 8 and then lesson 9. That activity is a pair of monologues. So I chose monologues as the type of writing, the form that we're going to be using. And the reason why is because, why not? It was what was suggested on the existing course content, although it was more along the lines of analyzing dramatic monologues for everybody who's been through Robert Browning's My Last Duchess, which is, I think, the classic. Anytime you're looking at monologues, that's one that seems to come up. But I decided to kind of scrap that and get away from the analysis of writing and to let you do some actual writing, because I figured last week was probably a little bit, it wasn't exactly the most exciting week. So you're going to be writing a pair of monologues. Monologues are you'll see them in a variety of contexts. If you watch late night television, all the late night hosts, they all start with a monologue, right? Colbert will start with his, and Kimmel starts with his, and Fallon, they all do start their show with a monologue. Saturday Night Live starts with a monologue. But really, the most traditional type of monologue is the soliloquy style, which you would find on stage in theater. It's the idea is it gives you insight into a character's mind, and that's what we're going to be looking at. Not necessarily the Shakespearean type, but that's the type of monologue we're going to look at. So I was trying to think of what would be a good situation, and it didn't take me very long to think of a situation where if you were in the situation, you would really want to know what was going on in the other person's head. So here's the situation you're going to be handling. 2 people are on a date, or about to go on a date, or have gone on a date. And you're going to be looking at a particular moment in time from this experience through the eyes of the 2 people that were on the date. So to give you a sordid example from Mr. McLaughlin's past, I thought about a particular date that I was on when I was in university, and I remember thinking at a particular time during the night that things were going really well. All right. My roommate at the time, she was a female. She came home partway through because it was just come over and have dinner sort of thing, and then we were just talking and stuff. And she came in, and it was a bit kind of that awkward moment when a third person kind of comes in on your date, and then she found an excuse to leave. Anyways, later on that night, she came home and she asked me how things went, and I said, I think they went really well. And she kind of gave me the look, and I said, what do you mean? What are you thinking? And she said, I don't think it's going to work out. And of course, you go into denial, right? What does this person know? But apparently she could see the future, because it did not work out. And she said it was very clear, based on the body language that I wasn't picking up, because I'm kind of oblivious to that, it just wasn't there. So it's kind of, I don't know, I thought it was pretty funny, looking back at it, that I could be so wrong, and I think that that's something that a lot of people, hopefully a lot of people, can empathize with. And it sets up a possibility for your monologue. So you could have a monologue where, things are going really well through one person's eyes, and things are going awfully through the other person's eyes. That's just one idea for how this monologue could look. But basically, just imagine a particular time of the day or the night. So let's assume it's going to be your stereotypical Friday night or Saturday night date, and the one person is getting ready. All right, so through their eyes, they're getting ready, they're thinking about this date. There's probably feelings of anticipation, maybe excitement, right? maybe even a little bit of worry, some apprehension, who knows, however they're feeling. And then you'll see the exact same moment, like if that was taking place, say between like, I don't know, like 7:05 and 7:08, on Saturday night, same thing. You don't have to specify what the time is, but you get the idea, right? That each person's monologue is going to be kind of like in the same point in time. And the other thing that's really important is I want your two characters to have very different voices, because the first lesson is on voice. Voices is the idea of giving voice to your characters or to your narrators, and you do that through in a variety of means, through sentence structure, through dialect, and through like a lot of intangibles of writing, just like the way that a person speaks, trying to reflect that in writing, using things like punctuation, using things like sentence styles, those sorts of things. And of course, you can get away from what you learned last week about everything has to be grammatically correct, because we don't always speak. We normally don't speak in grammatically correct sentences. So the emphasis is going to be on having like a nice, genuine, distinct voice. So this would be like, it would be something that would be spoken on stage. So you're not going to be graded for like your mechanics per se. I mean, like you'll be graded for spelling, like things have to be spelled correctly unless they're supposed to be in dialect, in which case, like if you read To Kill a Mockingbird back in grade 9, you remember that you have to adjust the spelling in order to make a word look like it would sound back in like the 1930s American South. The emphasis though is on voice. So trying to give your character a distinct voice from the other character. So you don't have to be crazy with regards to this. Like if character one, like if you want to make this based on reality, so one of the characters is you, then you write the way that you speak. And for some of you this is going to be really satisfying, because you probably always write the way that you speak, and teachers criticize you and say don't write the way you speak because it's not grammatically correct. So now's your chance. You get to write the way that you speak. But then it doesn't have to be far-fetched at all. It's just you're a normal person, your character speaks normally, but I want the other person to have a distinct voice. I don't want it to be the same person, which is one of the biggest challenges as a writer, is when you're writing fiction and you have multiple characters, how do you distinguish between those characters in the text? Like they shouldn't all sound the same. And the fact is about writing is quite often our characters do sound the same. And if you were to take an excerpt of all three, say, of your characters and put them side by side, would you notice a difference between them? Or is it the same person over and over again? So this is something that you want to avoid as a writer. You want to have distinct, rich characters who have got distinct, rich voices. So that's what Activity 7 is about. It's about starting your monologues, like having a draft of each, and they're in rough draft form at this point because you're going to be polishing them, and making sure that number one, they are monologues, so watch the instructional videos on what monologues are and what they should entail. And even have a look online and read some monologues if you want to, or go back to Shakespeare and look at some of his soliloquies if you want to, and focusing on that voice. Then lesson number 8, you're going to move on to diction, which is the root word in dictionary. It's about word choice. So you're going to be learning about why we choose particular words. So to give you another analogy out of my life, this is a friend of mine though. His name is Louis Maul. He's a French-Canadian writer, and I met him in all places when I was in Singapore when I was first teaching. I was teaching over there, and his wife was teaching over there, and I got talking to him about writing one day, and he was revising his novel. He's working on a novel. And I said, did you get a lot done today? He said, yes, I got an entire page. And I looked at him and I said, you got a page done. You spent 6 hours on one page. And he says, well, I mean, what do you expect? I'll go through it sentence by sentence, and I have to think carefully about what words I'm choosing, because if I don't think carefully, I might choose the wrong word. And in that moment, I kind of like, I was struck by it, like the idea that like a particular word, how important could one word be? But really they are. When it comes to like the craft of writing, your word choice is very important. So lesson 8 is going to be about looking at, why choose particular words, and then adding to your monologue. So you're going to be making some revisions in order to improve the word choice. And it's not, the simple changing words that you're used to in high school. Like you use the word good and your teacher wants you to, have something better than that. So you use amazing, or you use fantastic, right? A superlative of some sort. That's not what it is. There's more to it than that. So, go through the lesson, learn about diction and word choice, and then make adjustments to your writing in order to make it better. And then the last lesson is, I think, the most fun one. It's on figurative language. So you get to go back to like grade 9 at our school anyways, and have a look at, your similes and your metaphors and personification, hyperbole, those types of figurative devices. But we're also going to introduce you to some new figurative devices as well, things that you maybe haven't heard of before, or maybe like you've heard of them, but or you know them, or you understand them, but you don't know what the name is for them. And then you're going to be making adjustments to your writing in order to add some figurative language in to improve the quality, not just to like add it in. Like when we get to poetry, poets don't just add in a metaphor because it shows skill, right? Yes, it does show skill, but there's got to be a purpose for everything that you do with regards to writing. All right. Now, while all this is going on, way back in Unit 1, in this week, I want to start setting up things so that we can workshop our writing. So workshopping means, ideally, you would be in a room with other writers and you would present a piece of writing. Everybody gets a copy. You might even read through it. And then your peers give you like their impressions and they give you their ideas. And it's all positive. It's not criticism where you pick out, here's some deficiencies with it and they need to be fixed. It's like, if I was the writer, I would do this. So I might improve my word choice for this particular character in order to like develop their voice and make their voice more distinct. Could be like one of the ideas, or it might be this particular character seems underdeveloped, or they seem flat and I want to round them out. I want them to make them seem more realistic. They need to have some kind of flaw to them. Whatever the case may be, the idea with workshopping is it's like you fix up a piece of writing. It's like writing. You take your car into the shop and it gets improved. Same thing. So in order to do this, I need to establish groups, and because some of you know each other and you met each other in the first lesson when people post about themselves, you have a sense of maybe who's in the class. I want to see if you can like set groups yourself. Ultimately, if you're having trouble like finding a group, I can like group you together, and the group should be between 3 and 5. Groups that are too large, they tend not to work, and obviously you can pair up with somebody else, but it really is better to have more than just like you and one other person. I'll set you up if I have to, but I'd much prefer to give you a chance to set yourselves up with people maybe like who or like go to the same school, or just people who struck you as being interesting people when you were meeting them. So that is in the discussion forum. All you have to do is go in there and you join one of the groups by saying, hi, I want to be part of this group, and then you're in. That's as complicated as it gets. Anyways, I'm running out of time. So with that, I'm going to set you to work, and have a great week. And if you have any questions or need any help, as always, just get in touch.